Theme parks have an interesting relationship with pricing. They must stay ahead of their competition, but maintain a high level of satisfaction with their customers over fear of losing their business. When looking at the history of amusement parks, the pricing strategies have changed drastically over the years. Before these amusement parks became what we could recognize in the modern age, they started with World's Fairs and pleasure gardens in the 18th and 19th centuries all over Europe that offered huge ranges of entertainment like acrobatics and hot air balloon releases. They also introduced many parts of theme parks that we can recognize today, like carousels and shooting galleries. These pre-modern parks had mostly pay-per-play/ride models that had an individual rider or player pay for every ride that they went on. Once we began to see more modern parks that are more recognizable to us, the pricing model changed ever so slightly to see a base level entry fee that was generally pretty low, with each ride inside the park also costing a specific amount. This small change was due to the complete enclosure of a park that required the entry fee. The first to do this would be the Sea Lion Park in Coney Island, followed by other parks around the area, and then all throughout the world. This would last through what is known as the Golden Age of theme parks, up until the Great Depression and World War II put a halt to the ever-growing theme park industry. When Walt Disney decided to create Disneyland in the 1950s, the old pricing strategy would remain with a small new tweak. Famously, Disneyland had specific ticketed attractions, ranked from A to D, and eventually introduced E, with E-ticket attractions being the most entertaining, exciting, and expensive. This would continually be the standard for years to come in every major theme park around the world. This more dynamic style of pricing simply made more money, as new customers would buy ticket books at times only for those E-tickets. You would think the next new revolution in theme park pricing would come from Disney. However, surprisingly, Six Flags Over Texas introduced the single-pay pricing model in 1961. This would allow customers to pay for a singular higher fee of entry to the park, but in exchange, they would get to experience every entertainment experience inside that park at no extra cost. This pricing strategy worked well for many years, as almost every park would either have a permanent pay for entry or have a hybrid model, with some pay for entry days and some pay for rides days. This was a massive shift for the consumers, as the whole experience of theme parks changed. Previously, there could be a single ride that draws you into a park because you'd only be paying for that ride. With the pay for entry model, customers needed to see a value in every aspect of the experience to justify a much higher price. Disney eventually followed the rest of the industry and got rid of their ticketed books in exchange for the single pay model in 1981. This success would not fully last, however. As rides became more innovative and more expensive, theme parks needed more money and more time to build rides. Looking towards industries like hotels and airlines, Disney had the idea of keeping the pay-to-enter model, but shifting their pricing to a variable pricing model, or demand-based pricing, rather than a static price for the whole year. Disney's main goal was to spread out demand while still increasing revenue and increasing customer satisfaction. A big concern in this pricing model change would be the consumer reaction to it. There was some worry that on the lower price days, there would be too much attendance, and on the higher price days, they would struggle to fill the parks. To make sure to avoid this, Disney took a deep look into all the data they had up to 2012 on attendance. Using this data, the first shift in Disney's pricing strategy came in 2013 as a small test in the Walt Disney World. They raised the price of a certain park, the Magic Kingdom, by $5 compared to the rest of the parks. The Magic Kingdom was far and away the most popular park, as well as the one with the most to do. Considering those facts, as well as the possibility of spreading out the crowds to other parks, Disney loved the idea. This would just be a sign of the changes to come, however. In 2016, Disney changed their model of their pricing to a 3-tier model, including peak, normal, and value days. This change would help deal with the overall demand increase Disney was finding themselves in, as well as increase customer satisfaction. It also went to target another form of pricing Disney has used in the past and is currently trying to phase out. Annual pass holders who could buy a yearly pass would now receive blackout dates and lose other perks.
All right, the happiest place on earth getting a little more expensive.
That's right. Annual passes to Disneyland and Disney California Adventure just spiked.
CBS 2's Cara Finstrom live at Disneyland this morning.
And she has reaction from pass holders upset over this price increase. Hi, Cara.
Good morning. Well, Disneyland says one of the reasons they're doing this is to better control the size of their crowds. Within a couple hours here, this busy thoroughfare will be packed with people heading to attractions like the Tower of Terror. Overnight, some of the theme park's fans took to social media upset. On our Facebook site, Dennis Lubman posted, "So much for renewing my passport, no thanks." That was followed by a post that simply stated, "Buy Disneyland," using the $sign.
Disney is fine losing these annual pass holders, as the way modern theme parks work is much more different than something you would have ever seen 20 years ago. It's more about the whole experience you can get through the day, so an increased attendance and thus wait times can really hurt customer satisfaction. Annual pass holders don't spend the time or spend the money like other guests do, so Disney is fine with dropping them. Disney wanted to set themselves apart from their competitors and really be the #1 premium theme park experience. In order to justify a higher price, every aspect of the experience from food to rides to customer service to wait times must be top, and having to further please annual pass holders just didn't seem to make sense. They would change their pricing one more time in 2018, going further into demand-based pricing. They would scrap the 3-tier in favor of a fully date-based pricing that has tickets generally ranged between $100 to $150 depending on the date. This just gives Disney even more flexibility in their crowd control, and goes to further ensure customer satisfaction. To see how this has paid off for Disney, we can take another look at their data. Spreading out the crowds via variable-based pricing has decreased overall attendance down by 3%. This overall didn't matter for Disney, however. With the attendance drop came an increase in satisfaction among customers due to shorter lines. With their increased satisfaction, they spend way more money at the park, buying things like merchandise, beverages, and food. So Disney saw an overall revenue increase of 3%. The risk that was the change to a dynamic pricing strategy has clearly paid off for Disney and other theme parks around the world. Having less crowds in the park while still increasing revenue is a huge win for the theme parks as well as the customers. This increase in dynamic pricing seems to be the clear future for pricing in the theme park industry, and we will continue to see more parks adopt the model.